Alma, or The Progress of the Mind in 3 Cantos, Canto 3. Matthew Prior Richard, who now was half asleep, roused, nor would longer silence keep, and sense like this, in vocal breath, broke from his twofold hedge of teeth. Now if this phrase too harsh be thought, Pope, tell the world 'tis not my fault. Old Homer taught us thus to speak. If 'tis not sense, at least 'tis Greek. As folks, quoth Richard, prone to leasing, say things at first, because they're pleasing, then prove what they have once asserted, nor care to have their lie deserted, till their own dreams at length deceive 'em, and oft repeating they believe 'em, or as again those amorous blades who trifle with their mothers' maids, though at the first their wild desire was but to quench a present fire, yet if the object of their love chance by Lucina's aid to prove, they seldom let the bantling roar and basket at a neighbor's door, but by the flattering glass of nature, viewing themselves in cake-bread's feature, with serious thought and care support what only was begun in sport. Just so with you, my friend, it fares, who deal in philosophic wares. Atoms you cut, and forms you measure, to gratify your private pleasure, till airy seeds of casual wit do some fantastic birth beget. And, pleased to find your system mended beyond what you at first intended, the happy whimsy you pursue, till you at length believe it true, caught by your own delusive art, you fancy first, and then assert. Quoth Matthew, friend, as far as I through art or nature cast my eye, this axiom clearly I discern, that one must teach, and t'other learn. No fool Pythagoras was thought. Whilst he his weighty doctrines taught, he made his listening scholars stand, their mouths still coved with their hand. Else maybe some odd thinking youth, less friend to doctrine than to truth, might have refused to let his ears attend the music of the spheres, denied all transmigrating scenes, and introduced the use of beans. From great Lucretius take his void, and all the world is quite destroyed. Deny Descartes his subtle matter, you leave him neither fire nor water. How oddly would Sir Isaac look, if you, in answer to his book, say, in the front of your discourse, that things have no elastic force? How could our chimic friends go on, to find the philosophic stone, if you more powerful reasons bring to prove that there is no such thing? Your chiefs in sciences and arts have great contempt of Alma's parts, they find she giddy is or dull, she doubts if things are void or full. And who should be presumed to tell what she herself should see or feel? She doubts if 2 and 2 make 4, though she has told them 12 times o'er, it can't, it may be, and it must, to which of these must Alma trust? Nay, further yet they make her go, in doubting if she doubts or no. Can syllogism set things right? No. Majors soon with minors fight. Or, both in friendly consort joint, the consequence limps falls behind. So to some cunning man she goes, and asks of him how much she knows. With patience grave he hears her speak, and from his short notes gives her back what from her tale he comprehended. Thus the dispute is wisely ended. From the account the loser brings, the conjurer knows who stole the things. Squire, interrupted Dick, since when of eloquence spoil my discourse? I tell thee this is Alma's case. Still asking what some wise man says, who does his mind in words reveal, which all must grant, though few can spell. You tell your doctor that ye ill, and what does he but write a bill? Of which you need not read one letter, the worse the scrawl, the dose the better, for if you know but what you take, though you recover, he must break. Ideas, farms, and intellects, have furnished out 3 different sects. Substance or accident divides all Europe into adverse sides. Now, as engaged in arms or laws, you must have friends to back your cause, in philosophic matters so your judgment must with others go, for as in senates so in schools, majority of voices rules. Poor Alma, like a lonely deer, o'er hills and dales doth doubtful err, with panting haste and quick surprise, from every leaf that stirs she flies, till, mingled with the neighboring herd, she slights what erst she singly feared, and now exempt from doubt and dread, she dares pursue if they dare lead. As their example still prevails, she tempts the stream, or leaps the pales. Heathen, quoth Dick, who by your rule thinks for himself becomes a fool. As party man who leads the rest, is called but whimsical at best. Now, by your favor, Master Matt, Like Rolfo, here I smell a rat. I must be listed in your sect, who, though they teach not, can protect. Right Richard, Matt, in triumph cried, so put off all mistrust and pride. And while my principles I beg, pray answer only with your leg. Believe what friendly I advise, be first secure, and then be wise. The man within the coach that sits, and to another skill submits, is safer much, whate'er arrives and warmer too, than he that drives. So, Dick, adept, tuck back thy hair, and I will pour into thy ear remarks which none did e'er disclose, in smooth-paced verse, or hobbling prose. Attend, dear Dick, but don't reply, and thou mayst prove as well as I when Alma now in different ages has finished her ascending stages, into the head at length she gets, and there in public grandeur sits, to judge of things, and censure wits. Here, Richard, how could I explain the various labyrinths of the brain? Surprise my readers, whilst I tell them of cerebrum and cerebellum? How could I play the commentator where hot and cold, and dry and wet, strive each the other's place to get, and with incessant toil and strife what keep possession during life? I could demonstrate every pore, where memory lays up all her store, and to an inch compute the station twixt judgment and imagination. Oh, friend! I could display much learning, at least to men of small discerning. The brain contains 10,000 cells, in each some active fancy dwells, which always is at work, and framing the several follies I was naming. As in a hive's viminous dome, each does her studious action vary, to go and come, to fetch and carry. Each still renews her little labor, nor jostles her assiduous neighbor. Each, whilst this thesis I maintain, I fancy, Dick, I know thy brain. Oh, with the mighty theme affected, could I but see thy head dissected? My head, quoth Dick, to serve your whim? Spare that, and take some other limb. Sir, in your nice affairs of system, wise men propose, but fools assist him. Says Matthew, Richard, keep thy head, and hold thy peace, and I'll proceed. Proceed? Quoth Dick, I do aver you have already gone too far. When people once are in the wrong, each line they add is much too long. Who safest walks, but walks astray, is only furthest from his way. Bless your conceits, must I believe, howe'er absurd, what you conceive, and for your friendship live and die a papist in philosophy? I say, whatever you maintain, of Alma in the heart or brain, the plainest man alive may tell ye her seat of empire is th belly. From hence she sends out those supplies which make us either stout or wise. The strength of every other member is founded on your belly timber, the qualms or raptures of your blood rise in proportion to your food. And if you would improve your thought you must be fed as well as taught, your stomach makes your fabric roll, just as the bias rules the bowl. That great Achilles might employ the strength designed to ruin Troy, he dined on lion's marrow, spread on toasts of ammunition bread. But by his mother sent away among the Thracian girls to play, effeminate he sate, and quiet. Strange product of the cheesecake diet. Now give my argument fair play, and take the thing the other way. The youngster who at 9 and 3 drinks with his sisters milk and tea, from breakfast reads till 12 o'clock, Burnet and Halen, Hobbies and Locke. He pays due visits afternoon to cousin Eliva and Uncle John. At 10, from coffee house or play returning, fishes of the day, but give him port and potent sack, from milksop he starts up Mohatch. Holds that the happy know no hours. So through the street at midnight scours, breaks watchmen's heads and chairmen's glasses, and thence proceeds to nicking sashes, till by some tougher hand o'ercome, and first knocked down, and then led home, he damns the footman, strikes the maid, and decently reels up to bed. Observe the various operations of food and drink in several nations. Was ever Tartar fierce or cruel upon the strength of watergrill? But who shall stand his rage in force, if first he rides, then eats his horse? Salads, and eggs, and lighter fare, tune the Italian Sparks guitar, and, if I take Donkin grieve right, pudding and beef made Britons fight. Tokay and coffee cause this work between the German and the Turk. And both, as they provisions want, chicane, avoid, retire, and faint. Hunger and thirst, or guns and swords, give the same death in different words. To push this argument no further, to starve a man in law is murder. As in a watch's fine machine, though many artful springs are seen, the added movements, which declare how full the moon, how old the year, derive their secondary power from that which simply points the hour. For though those gimcracks were away, Quar would not swear, but Quar would say, however more reduced in plain, the watch would still a watch remain. But if the whole orbit ceases, the whole stands still or breaks to pieces. Is now no longer what it was, and you may e'en go sell the case. So if unprejudiced you scan the goings of this clockwork, man, you find 100 movements made by fine devices in his head. But 'tis the stomach's sewed stroke that tells his being what's a clock. If you take off his rhetoric trigger, he talks no more in mood and figure. Or, clog his mathematic wheel, his buildings fall, his ship stand still, or, lastly, break his politic weight, his voice no longer rules the state. Yet if these finer whims were gone, your clock, though plain, would still go on. But spoil the engine of digestion, and you entirely change the question. Alma's affairs no power can mend. The jest, alas, is at an end. Soon cease all this worldly bustle, and you consign the corpse to rustle. Now make your Alma come or go, from leg to hand, from top to toe. Your system, without my addition, is in a very sad condition. So Harlequin extolled his horse fit for the war, or road, or course. His mouth was soft, his eye was good, his foot was sure as ever trod. One fault he had, a fault indeed. And what was that? The horse was dead. Dick, from these instances and fetches thou makest of horses, clocks, and watches, quoth Matt. To me thou seemest to mean that Alma is a mere machine, that telling others what's a clock she knows not what herself has struck, but leaves to standers by the trial of what is marked upon her dial. Here hold. A blow, good friend, quoth Dick, and raised his voice exceeding quick. Fight fair, sir. What I never meant don't you infer. In argument similes are like songs in love, they much describe, they nothing prove. Matt, who was here a little gravelled, tossed up his nose, and would have caviled, but calling Hermes to his aid, half pleased, half angry, thus he said, "Where mind, 'tis for the author's fame that Matthew called and Hermes came. In danger heroes, and in doubt, poets find gods to help them out. Friend Richard, I begin to see that you and I can scarce agree. Observe how oddly you behave. The more I grant the more you crave, but, comrade, as I said just now, I should affirm and you allow. We system makers can sustain the thesis which you grant was plain, and with remarks and comments tease ye, in case the thing before was easy. But in a point obscure and dark we fight as Leibniz did with Clarke. And when no reason we can show why matters this or that way go, the shortest way the thing we try, and what we know not we deny. True to our own o'erbearing pride, and false to all the world beside. That old philosopher grew cross, who could not tell what motion was, because he walked against his will. He faced men down that he stood still. And he reading on the heart when all his quidlibets of art could not expound its pulse and heat, swore he had never felt it beat. Chrysippus, foiled by Epicurus, makes bold, Jove bless him, to assure us, that all things which our mind can view may be at once both false and true. And Malebranche has an odd conceit as ever entered Frenchman's pate, says he, so little can our mind of matter or of spirit find, that we by guess at least may gather something which may be both or neither. Faith, Dick, I must conceive 'tis true, but this is only on trueness that many knotty points there are which I'll discuss but few can clear. As nature slily had thought fit, for some biends to cross by wit, circles to square and cubes to double would give a man excessive trouble, the longitude uncertain roams in spite of WHN and his bombs. What system, Dick, has right averred the cause why woman has no beard? Or why, as years our frame attack, our hair grows white, our teeth grow black? In points like these we must agree our barber knows as well as we, yet still unable to explain, we must persist the best we can. With care our systems still renew, and prove things likely, though not true. I could, thou seest, in quaint dispute, by dint of logic, strike thee mute. With learned skill now push, now parry, from Dari to Bocardo vary, and never yield, or what is worst, never conclude the point discoursed, yet that you hic et nunc may know how much you to my candor owe, I'll from the disputant descend, to show thee I assume the friend. I'll take thy notion for my own, so most philosophers have down. It makes my system more complete. Dick, can it have a nobler fate? Take what thou wilt, said Dick, dear friend, but bring thy matters to an end. I find, quoth Matt, reproof is vain, who first offend will first complain. Thou wishest I should make to shore, yet still puttest in thy thwarting oar. What I have told thee 50 times in prose, receive for once in rhymes. A huge fat man in country fair, or city church, no matter where, Abradan pushed amidst the crowd, still bawling out extremely loud, Lord save us. Why do people press? Another, marking his distress, friendly replied, plump gentlemen, get out as fast as e'er you can, or cease to push or to exclaim. You make the very crowd you blame. Says Dick, your moral does not need the least return, so e'en proceed. Your tale, howe'er applied, was short, so far at least I thank you for single quotee. Matt took his thanks, and in a tone more magisterial thus went on. Now Alma settles in the head, as has before been sung or said, and here begins this farce of life. Enter revenge, ambition, strife. Behold on both sides men advance, to form an earnest Baza's dance. El Aver, not using half his store, still grumbles that he has no more. Strikes not the present gin, for fear the vintage should be bad next year, and eats today with inward sorrow, and dread of fancied want tomorrow. Abroad if the surtout you wear repels the rigor of the air, would you be warmer if at home you had the fabric and the loom? And if 2 boots keep out the weather, what need you have 2 hides of leather? Good Pedro, thank you, make no trial of a sonata on his viol, unless he had the total gut, whence every string at first was cut. When Raris shows you his Cardoni, he always tells you with a groan where 2 of that same hand were torn long before you or he were born. Poor Vento's mind so much is crossed, for part of his Petronius lost, that he can never take the pains to understand what yet remains. What toil did honest Curio take, what strict inquiries did he make, to get one medal, wanting yet, and perfect all his Roman set? 'Tis found, and oh his happy lot! 'Tis bought, locked up, and lies forgot, of these no more you hear him speak. He now begins upon the Greek. These ranged and showed, shall in their turns remain obscure as in their urns. My copper lamps at any rate, for being true antique, I bought, yet wisely melted down my plate, on modern models to be wrought, and trifles I liked pursue, because they rolled, because they're new. Dick, I have seen you with delight, for Georgie makes a paper kite, and simple odes, too many, show ye my servile complacence declow. Parents and lovers are decreed by nature fools, that's brave indeed. Quoth Dick, such truths are worth receiving. Yet still Dick looked as not believing. Now Alma, to the Vincent prose I leave thy frauds, and crimes, and woes, nor think tonight of thy ill nature, but of thy follies, idle creature, the turns of thy uncertain wing, and not the malice of thy sting. Thy pride of being great and wise I do but mention to despise. I view with anger and disdain how little gives thee joy or pain, a print, a bronze, a flower, a root, a shell, a butterfly, can do single quotee, even a romance, a tune, a rhyme, help thee to pass the tedious time, which else would on thy hand remain. Though flown it ne'er looks back again, and cards are dealt, and chessboards brought, to ease the pain of coward thought, happy result of human wit, that Alma may herself forget. Dick, thus we act, and thus we are, or tossed by hope or sunk by care. With endless pain this man pursues what if he gained he could not use, and this other fondly hopes to see what never was nor e'er shall be. We err by use, go wrong by rules, in gesture grave, in action fools, we join hypocrisy to pride, dulling the faults we strive to hide, or grant that with extreme surprise we find ourselves at 60 wise, and 20 pretty things are known, of which we can't accomplish one, whilst, as my system says, the mind is to these upper rooms confined. Should I, my friend, at large repeat her borrowed sense, her fluent conceit, the bedroll of her vicious tricks, my poem would be too prolix, for could I my remarks sustain, like Socrates or Miles Montaigne, who in these times would read my books, but Tom O'Styles or John O'Noakes. At Brentford King's, discreet and wise, after long thought and great advice, into Lardella's coffin peeping, saw naught to cause their mirth or weeping. So Alma, now to joy or grief superior, finds her late relief. Wearied of being high or great, and nodding in her chair of state, stunned and worn out with endless chat, of Will did this and Nan said that, she finds, poor thing, some little crack, which nature forced by time must make, through which she wings her destined way. Upward she soars and down drops clay, while some surviving friend supplies hic jacet, and 100 lies. O Richard, till that day appears which must decide our hopes and fears, would fortune calm her present rage, and give us playthings for our age? Would Clotho wash her hands in milk, and twist our thread with gold and silk? Would she in friendship, peace, and plenty spin out our years to 4 times 20? And should we both in this condition of conquered love, and worse ambition, else those two passions by the way may chance to show us scurvy play, then, Richard, then should we sit down, far from the tumult of this town, I fond of my well-chosen seat, my pictures, medals, books complete. Or should we mix our friendly talk, o'ershadowed in that favorite walk which thy own hand had whilom planted, both pleased with all we thought we wanted? Yet then, even then, one cross reflection would spoil thy grove and my recollection, thy son and his heir that may die, and time some uncouth heir supply, who shall for nothing else be known but spoiling all that thou hast done. Who set the twigs shall he remember, that is in haste to fell the timber? And what shall of thy woods remain except the bogs that through the main? Nay, may not time and death remove the near relations whom I love? And my cause Tom, or his cause Mary, who hold the plough or skim the dairy? My favorite books and pictures sell to smart or doily by the ell? Kindly throw in a little figure, and set their price upon the bigger. Those who could never read their grammar, when my dear volumes touch the hammer, may think books best as riches bound. My copper medals by the pound may be with learned justice weighed. To turn the balance, Utto's head may be thrown in, and for the medal the coin may mend a tinker's kettle. Tired with these thoughts, less tired than I, quoth Dick, with your philosophy that people live and die, I knew an hour ago as well as you. And if fate spins us longer years, or is in haste to take the shears, I know we must both fortunes try, and bear our evils wet or dry. Yet let the goddess smile or frown, bread we shall eat or white or brown, and in a cottage or a court drink fine champagne or muddled port. What need of books these truths to tell, which folks perceive who cannot spell? And must we spectacles apply to view what hurts our naked eye? Sir, if it be your wisdom's aim to make me merrier than I am, I'll be all night at your devotion. Come on, friend, broach the pleasing notion. But if you would depress my thought, your system is not worth a groat, for Plato's fancies what care I? I hope you would not have me die, like simple Cato in the play, for anything that he can say? E'en let him of ideas speak to heathens in his native Greek. If to be sad is to be wise, I do most heartily despise whatever Socrates has said, or Tully writ, or Wanley read. Dear Drift, to set our matters right, remove these papers from my sight. Burn Matt's Day Car and Aristotle. Here, Jonathan, your master's bottle.